website, walking around buildings, and that is a big campus. The first class I took, I didn't realize it was here, I was over there, and suddenly realized, I have the wrong place.
All right, don't mind the cameras, they're focused on me. You know, when I sign a release or a waiver, I like to practice what I preach, so anytime I'm in front of a group, I try and film it. I won't necessarily get to edit it and share it later, but I like to have the opportunity to do so. There may be snippets that are of value to share with my customer base, etc. My name is Joe Skibby. We're all here for websites for entrepreneurs. I'm not a techie, I'm not a hardcore developer, I'm an entrepreneur, just like you guys. I look forward to hearing your story. And throughout the course of my business, which is digital marketing strategy, so we do websites, social media, and search engine optimization. I've worked with outside developers on Drupal and Joomla products, which are content management systems. I self-taught myself .NET Nuke, which is Microsoft's .ASP platform. And then more recently, I've navigated all my projects to WordPress because it's very intuitive, drag and drop, and it has a lot of functionalities that you can incorporate without having an outside developer. So it's a perfect tool for entrepreneurs, and it really gives you the opportunity to have a professional website with a very low investment. And we'll talk about some of the factors that dictate that. So let's see, I cut my teeth in banking and public policy. Constant throughout my career has been small and mid-sized businesses and communications. So that's what brings me to current day JRS Marketing Communications. I've been in business since 2008, and I help small and mid-sized businesses be seen and be heard using the tools. So what I'd like to do now is go through and give yourself an introduction. I'm sure everybody's familiar with the term elevator pitch or 30-second commercial. If you guys would share a little bit about yourself, and ideally what you're hoping to take away from this class, because it's open-ended. I cover a lot of basics, but I want to make sure that you guys get the specific information that you're looking for. Ultimately, at the end of next session, on the 2nd, everybody should be walking away with basic 5-page brochure-style website. So, if Dakota, if you would start.
My name is Dakota Randall. I have a business. It's called Drunken Cupcake Ladies. We do all desserts that are infused with alcohol: cupcakes, lollipops, gummy bears, macaroons, the gamut, even Jello shots. Me and my sister started it about a year and a half ago when I was finishing up my degree here at Harvard. And I've been a purchaser for Claire's for a couple of years, but I got laid off yesterday. The business is going pretty good, but now I guess I'm forced to do it 100%, which is good. I'm really glad about that.
Door closes, the window opens,
yeah.
right?
Yep, so that's me.
So what do you hope to get out of the class?
Well, I want to, we've been doing a lot of word of mouth, so we don't have a website, so I do want to know, like, what's the best option to go, because we had a guy quote us prices for like $2,000 or $3,000, and then we have all these sites that they pay monthly. So I just kind of want to know where to go and get it started, since I got all this free time now.
Okay, perfect. We'll definitely cover all that. Thank you. And I'm sorry, your name?
My name is Catherine Meyer. I have not started a business just yet, but oddly enough, it's very similar to yours. It's called the Kraken Cookies. I do cookies and custom cakes, and because, like you had mentioned, I like the flavor of alcohol so much, I infuse it in almost all of my desserts.
Very nice one.
So,
samples next week.
So, but I'm actually here because while I have a landing page currently, I don't have my website set up yet. I'm looking for building blocks and how to make a website that's very user-friendly, looks very attractive, and eventually to get a lot of people to get over to my page. So.
Great, thank you. Mike?
My name is Mike Evelhausen. I'm actually just investigating. I'm looking to open up a doggy daycare and do-it-yourself wash. That's disabled friendly. Kind of figured out that the only person who'll hire me is me, And,
I came to that same conclusion.
yeah. And so I'm just trying to learn how to do things.
Okay, great.
I am Candace Youngman, and I have my own business called The Teaching Tech. I'm an IT company that specializes in small businesses and residential. And I do a lot of computer repair, virus removal, that kind of thing. And I have a current website that I had developed a long time ago when I lived in Colorado. I've just been here about 18 months. And I would like to be able to have a little more control over it myself. It's really just a landing page. I don't put a ton of information, but I like having it out there. So I think that I know enough to be dangerous, so I'd kind of like to be able to have a little control of it myself and not just rely on people, so.
So I'm Carrie Richland. I have a training and coaching company for small businesses to help them with planning tools and techniques. For the first 2/3 of my career, I worked for small businesses implementing technology and process improvements. I went to corporate America, learned their methodology, found these nuggets of wisdom that I now want to share with small businesses, because I wish I had them when I was working with small businesses. I got my URL and went on to their site to see about starting my webpage, and they offered me way too many options, and I didn't understand what they all were. Even though I've been in IT all these years, web development is the one area I never touched, so a little lost there. So need to sort of understand what all these options mean.
People think IT is everything, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, did you develop? No.
Yeah.
Network solution, security, web development.
Yeah, everything.
Yeah.
Jack of all trades, yeah.
My name is Diana Farrar, and it's really refreshing to hear both of you speak, because my 13-year-old daughter is way more savvy about all technology than I am, and I spent 15 years raising my kids and working part-time as a trainer for an international public speaking, Dale Carnegie training. I don't know if you ever heard of him, but so I'm thinking about starting my own business in communications and getting up in front of a group and overcoming your fears. And I know I need a website, because I've done some freelance work with people before and it's been great, but if I want to take it to any kind of level or have any kind of credibility, I know I need a website. And so I started calling people about it, and kind of similar to what you're saying, like there's all this, you don't know if you're getting totally ripped off or what do I really need on it, and could this be something I doubt it's something I can do myself, to be honest. I'm like, but I don't know. So
You'll be surprised.
So anyway, so I'm here to investigate and learn more. And
I gotta be honest, that's, I'd always wondered what justified a $20,000 website, right? What made a $5,000 website? What's the distinction there? And we'll cover some of that, and I can start to see how that's possible. A lot of it being, planning on the front end and content development if you're doing high-end photography or high-end videography. The costs build up in a hurry. But for small businesses like myself and like you guys, there's a way to do it professionally, inexpensively. So we're going to cover that today. Please, like I said, don't ever hesitate with questions as I've gone through all this stuff. So.
My name is Dan Such. I work for Thompson Memory Center. It's a neuropsychological practice. So it's a practice of doctors, and they see people who have problems with thinking, memory, attention. They do diagnostic evaluations. We had a website made by a professional marketing company. And since the business was established in 2008, a lot has changed. So we wanted to redo the website. We looked at having professional companies do it. The costs were really high. I mean, $30,000 to make it, another $30,000 in doing Google AdWords to get it to the first page of listings. So we actually made it in-house using a drag and drop builder. And now we're at the point where we're just trying to get it, improve it so it does get on the first page of listings. So we're doing like SEO developments, buying online ad listings, things like that.
Sure. And we can cover all that if anybody has questions on that. It's kind of funny as I've been out and met with clients and talked to them about what is unique to my offering is I tell people I build inexpensive websites that people go to. Because a lot of times people are handed a $15,000, $20,000 website, no content, no SEO, no ongoing content development. So those are the ways that you drive traffic to a website. And I'm going to kind of go through these at a rapid pace because I really want to focus on your questions and I want to get to the specifics. If If I was to say what's an ideal byproduct of this first class, so that we can really hit the ground running next week in the lab portion, is that we'll start to work on a sitemap and maybe identify some content and some keywords, which we can also do some research on to give you at least the tools to build the framework. I'm not going to give you homework. I'm not going to say come back with 5 pages of content and images that you want, but that's the ultimate goal. We're going to build the framework, and then there's going to be some legwork on behalf of yourself if you're going to build, manage, and maintain the website. So the question, why does your business need a website? We've all got our own reasons. It's exposure, it's access, it's legitimizing presence. I kind of broke it down into the 2 reasons anybody sells anything, right? Is acquisition and retention. You want to be able to capture the attention of a potential client, and you want to keep the clients that you do have. So legitimizing presence, I'm sure we've all been in network situations where somebody hands you a business card and the first thing you do is go back and view their website, right? Is this guy who he says he is? Does he do what he says he does? Information sharing. This is really the hub and spoke concept with your website at the center. The hub and spoke is all the different ways that people can come across your website, whether it's a business card, whether it's an article on social media, whether it's a video, whether it's word of mouth. And that, again, shares information. You can further the conversation with a website, message boards, contact form submissions, social sharing, and then sales. Some are direct sales. Some of our bakers may be interested in selling products specifically from their website. That's an e-commerce application for that. The retention side, again, customer service, social communication, topical trust authority. Dan, if this rings true from your SEO efforts, Google's kind of shifted, and a lot used to be keyword based, and as long as you have the keyword repeated throughout your website, you're going to get the ranking. Well, now topical trust authority is really what's the relevance of that keyword as it relates to the content on your website. So they want to make sure, as Google tries to provide not only the best solution to your question, but the most relevant geographically and the highest ranked based on referrals, etc. Topical trust authority is you're writing on a topic that you're supposedly an expert in. You're able to provide the solution to Google's need, which is the search client. Google wants to make sure the search client is happy. So topical trust authority is just becoming an expert on the content that you're developing. And then referrals. It's a great way to share this link, like this post, etc. Driving people back to your website is a great referral tool. Some statistics on why websites, why mobile websites, why search. Mobile search outpaces PC for the first time in 2015. That was kind of a huge newsworthy event that happened last year. 59% of consumers use Google every month to find a local reputable business. A lot of these statistics focus on local. If you guys are looking at national businesses, we can discuss that as well. But local search really provides an opportunity to compete with the big guys because of Google's desire, again, to serve geographically relevant content to the end user. More than 60% of consumers take action on location-based ads. That can be pay-per-click, that can be geo-targeted. There's even things like geofencing, where you can draw a circle on a map and focus display ads to a cell phone based on that geography. So the technology is really getting, like they say, Big Brother's out there. Well, Big Brother can now serve you ads wherever, whenever, and target pretty accurately. Almost 100% of searches don't go beyond page 1. So you talk about organic ranking with search engine optimization. That's why it's so important to be on the first page. Now the page is broken down into 3 different tiers. So the top and the right panel are all pay-per-click. That's Google AdWords placement. That's people that have paid to be placed within the search results. Under that now is local. So there's usually 3 to 7 local based on the Google My Business profile or My Local profile. And then underneath that, now the third visibility on the page is now for the organic search. So. And 7 to 10 customers more likely to use a local business if it has information available on social media. So I'm going really fast, intentionally. Any questions, any things you'd like me to cover further? Or? Hello.
Hi.
Do you want to introduce yourself and share what you'd hope to pull from the class?
Sure, Adrian Greenwood. I'm just kind of getting started and kind of some e-commerce things and looking just to learn how to build an effective website or at least find some tools that'll help me do that. And hopefully I won't have to spend a bunch of money having someone do that for me.
We're all in the same boat.
Okay.
How many of you are actively marketing your business right now?
Somewhat.
Okay.
Somewhat.
Kind of.
Yeah, like, it's weird. It's kind of, on my end, it started out with kind of coming up with the idea and then making the cupcakes and lollipops and stuff and doing it for my cousin's party. So we set up a candy bar and a dessert bar rather, and drinks. And then everybody at the party started calling to ask for it. So it really wasn't even a business, to be honest. It was just a cool idea for a party. And then they started calling for stuff. Then we got a separate phone line because the people that they knew started calling for it, and then we started doing parties and doing these dessert bars and wedding receptions and things like that. So we're not really marketing it, but it's kind of marketed itself in a way.
Yeah, no, word of mouth, that's the best type of marketing, right? Do you guys have cards or anything that you leave behind the table? Or?
No, because I've been purchasing for Claire's. I was in charge of North America and Puerto Rico and buying all this stuff and always gone. We never had a chance to do anything. So we got these grasshopper phone lines. Yeah, we got the grasshopper phone lines on the phone, and it's just been kind of like, we got 10 orders. Let's do this when you have the day off. So we haven't done any, all we know is that people call us and they're repeat customers and people they know. We haven't done anything. We don't have I've designed a card, but I never had time to actually submit. But now I do, so yeah.
Well, that's the perfect time for all that to happen, right? In similar boat, Kathy?
Yeah, similar, yeah. Like I said, I have my landing page, I have a Facebook page. I have business cards, and I've done orders and given people my business cards. And I get people from like New Jersey asking me to do stuff, and I'm like, I'm not sending you a custom cake all the way to New Jersey, you'll never make it. So, yeah, there's a little bit of organic growth and a little bit of marketing, but not too much. So that's something else I'm also got a list of things to learn about. So
trust me, my list is like a ticker tape or something.
Oh yeah.
It just keeps going and going and going. That'll never end, right? It's job security for all of us. Anybody have sales staff? Dan? Yeah?
Kind of. It's me and another person, but neither of us are professional marketers or salespeople, so we're like quasi-sales staff.
And we've got some social media engagement, right, Catherine? And who prides themselves on customer service? Yeah, right. Flip the bill. Anybody with printed brochures?
Brochure.
Oh, there you go.
I made it at lunch.
That's perfect. And then anybody actively writing about their business? Okay. So obviously these are all ways you can market your business. The initial question kind of starting off, do you market your business? But there are also ways that a website can engage with potential customers. You can solve customer service issues. You can pretty much your informational brochure online is your 4-page website, right? And that's what they call a brochure website. And then writing about your business is a great way to let people know different problems that you solve, whether they're party problems or whether they're tech problems or physical problems. So this is a good framework. I actually presented this presentation to a group of entrepreneurs at Buffalo Grove High School, and this was one of the documents they had. I thought it was good to incorporate, right? Plan, build, launch. Just like anything, planning phase, if you do your homework, the build and launch are going to be significantly easier. What does it take to plan a website? Well, maybe a statement of work, maybe a site map. Competitive research is huge in competitive analysis. When building, I think ultimately we're going to navigate towards a WordPress development site for ease of update, ease of editing, and elimination of developers, right? Because none of us need to code in our lives unless we're coders. But that's not me, that's not you. So also setting up hosting, any graphic design, and then part of the build phase will be testing before you go live to make sure all the functionalities are working appropriately. And then we are done building, people just start flooding to our site, right? No. We only wish, right? There's not a beacon, there's nothing really that steers people to the site. In our launch phase, we cover promotion, obviously constantly improving, and then how we're going to drive traffic through SEO and content management. Costs. We all talked about a high-priced website. This is where the variables really come into play. Is it a $1,500 website or is it a $15,000 website? All these costs add up to development. Competitive analysis, I'm assuming, much like myself, everybody in here is probably going to do their own competitive analysis. Most of it's going to be geographic. If you go outside your geography, then maybe looking at some of the national players that operate in your field. This gives you an idea of best practices, benchmarking. Now with some of the tools for keyword analysis and website traffic, they're covered in another slide, but SpyFu is one of them, SEMrush, Moz is a great site, M-O-Z. Those will give you, if you type in a competitor's website, they'll give you estimated traffic counts, they'll give you keywords that they've used, they'll let you know if they're engaging in pay-per-click. I mean, it's incredible the science behind this industry and how quickly it's grown and developed into legitimate practice. Sitemap, I've got in a subsequent slide 2 examples of that. You can do a flow chart, you can do just a basic outline. I tend to navigate towards the basic outline just for ease of administration. Wireframes, just basic drawings, sketches of what you'd like the site to be. Do you want to have an image slider? Do you want to lead with a video? Is it going to be 3-column or 2-column? Is it going to be a vertical sliding layout? All that's homework that can be done in advance of the build so that you just kind of are implementing decisions versus making them on the go, prolonging the build out and launch. Content, copy and images is again an area that can rapidly add to the cost. I assume most of the high-end websites have at least a photographer on staff, if not a videographer, and then a dedicated graphic designer to work on all the buttons and widgets and whatnot. But again, it's all created in template format, so as a small business provider, we don't need to spend money on that. So, domain name, I probably should have domain name first, right? Because that's huge. If you go through and develop a concept and try and execute it and realize your domain name's taken, it kind of throws a wrench in the whole set. So you want to make sure that the domain name or concept that you have is available and you can promote that accordingly. We'll talk about some evaluations of hosting providers, but really you want to be able to have your email through, and then you want to have ongoing maintenance and support in a 24/7 environment, because if you're dealing with international hosts, the time lag can kill you in terms of responding in a timely fashion to your clients. So some of the things in terms of competitive analysis that you want to look at. You don't want to build a site without taking a look at your competitors and realize, oh, I communicate the same value proposition they do. They're pushing the same unique selling proposition that I am. What's different? Why did I invest time in this? So, are they brand, product, or service focused? Are they on just the web? Do they have an app? Are they social, etc.? These are the Moz, SEMrush, and SpyFu. Those are some of the technologies available to do some research. And then, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities. You talk about where there's overlap, where are their strengths, and then how do you want to approach the competition? Do you want to be bidding on the same keywords they are? Do you want to use those same keywords to write the content to your site? More of a head-on, aggressive approach, or do you want to sidestep that and maybe highlight some other products and services that you offer?
Can you just clarify again what that SEMrush and Moz is? What is it?
Sure. So, as SEO was really taking shape, those are kind of the industry leaders. And Moz and Moz Local, there's Bright Local, they'll manage directory listings for you. So one of the things for search engine optimization that you want to make sure is as you're communicating your business, it's name, address, NAP consistency, name, address, and phone consistency. Every directory listing, so like the online yellow pages, online white pages, whatever, there's thousands of them, right?
Yeah.
And that's one way that the Google crawler will identify that you're a business in existence is by having a large number of directory listings out there. But you don't want to have one say West Addison, W-E-S-T, and one say W.Addison. So the consistency, you really want them to be presented in identical fashion. So tools like this will say, you've got 1,000 directory listings, 700 of them are correct, 300 of them need to be corrected. They'll tell you your client is competing for commercial insurance Roselle, maybe you want to go with Roselle Commercial Insurance. You know, so it gives you competitive opportunities to approach the keyword analysis and keep. So one thing I didn't include in here, every project I work on has a project strategy map, and it's really every step that we're going to do moving forward has a keyword, a business description, products and services offered, your name, address, and phone, and hours, and then editorial calendar, so that it'll have those. Everything I can work on will be led by that strategy map. So if I'm going through and I'm listing directory listings, I've got how the exact address needs to be listed. If I'm going through and creating content, I've got an editorial calendar that I can reference. If I'm starting social bookmarking profiles, Facebook, Twitter, the thousands that are out there, I've got the business description that I'm going to use. And everything is consistent, everything is using the same keywords, and everything's going to look identical to the Google crawl, which isn't subjective, it's strictly contextual. So they're just going to look to see if the box is ticked, and then they're going to roll through. So, and everybody understand what I'm talking about with Google crawlers, or? No?
No.
Okay. So Google is constantly crawling the web and constantly evaluating page updates, constantly evaluating new directory listings, new pages. Anything that's on the web is continually crawled in cycle by Google. So you make an update, it might be immediately recognized, depending upon where the crawler is in its cycle. It might take a week or two, but they're constantly crawling. And when I say Google's crawlers, that's obviously where they get their information to make search engine rank changes, Google My Local Profile changes, etc. So Google's crawlers are what everything is built, targeted, structured, content is created for. So that's a good question. Good question. Any other questions? Did I answer it, I guess?
Yeah.
Okay. So here's again, two basic sitemaps, more of a flow chart, more of an outline. As you're going through, and again, projects that I work on, I like the outline format because we can kind of progress through a process. So we start with this, and then maybe the business description is exactly verbatim our story. Well, then we go through our team, and I can just plug in the content so that that document just grows and is a back and forth live document between myself and the client, or you and whoever you're working with, to ultimately come to a full layout of what a website would look like. You know, tab, drop-down menu, content, and then even posting images just into a Word document. It's a great way to manage that process and keep the flow moving. A lot of times content is what bogs down most web development projects, and to be able to have that in a readily visible, easily editable document in Word format keeps that process going. And the example, home, about, product, services, contact us, that's your 4-page brochure style website. So you can approach it depending upon your brand. It can be testimonials, it can be reviews, it can be photos. You can have your landing page be a video that tells all about your product. This is just kind of a basic outline. I don't want everybody to feel encumbered by the structure here, because depending upon your product or service, I think photos of your parties would probably be what you're selling, right? You're ultimately selling a good time, and your products is the cakes and the bakery goods. So I don't necessarily want to read about bakery goods, right? Like, give me 3 pages on bakery goods, and have a high bounce rate on your website. So. Everybody know what bounce rate is? Sorry. So one of the things Google also does is tracks traffic to your website. So Visitors, unique visitors, repeat visitors, and bounce rate is one of, again, another indicator of how high you'll be ranked. Bounce rate is when somebody comes to your website, partially engages or doesn't engage at all on the page and leaves immediately. So if you have a video, like I have a video on my homepage, my bounce rate is 76%, which is fairly good. You know, it can get much higher than that, but they're on the page for like 2 minutes because I have a minute-long video on my homepage. So because they're there and they stay there longer, that helps with my ranking. It's a messy sketch of a wireframe. I can't make out too much of this, but this gives you an idea. This is exactly what you want. It's just a rough sketch of how you want it to appear. So, you know, your home page may just be a video. It may just be an image slider. And then 1, 2, or 3 columns. Do you want side columns, right or left? What type of information are you going to be presenting? Do you want it laid out as a blog where it's just separate tiles of different content that you're updating? This is where, when we're operating in the confines of a template-based system like WordPress, which is what we're going to navigate to, the template will help us qualify the searches that we're doing. Because there's millions of templates out there. If we have a wireframe, we can work backwards into a template that fits our wireframe. So it'll be an important part of our process. We talked about content, copy, and image, video, photography. Again, do you want art museum quality art, or do you want to use stock imagery? It's, or is your iPhone sufficient with your camera and your video? I mean, content is king. Editing is icing on the cake, so to speak. So, you know, the big thing is, what are you saying? Is it important? Is it updated frequently, and is it relevant? I'll just give some tips for naming your domain. If you do have a business name, keeping it consistent within that, just for branding purposes. You know, JRS Marketing Communications, and my domain is jrsmarcom.com, which is really confusing if you tell somebody over the phone. Marcom.com always causes problems. I'd probably rethink it and change it if I wasn't so far into it. But you want to keep it short. You want to use keywords, target your geography potentially. Avoid symbols, and then be memorable. And is everyone familiar that there's different suffixes now, not just .com and .org? You can have .guru, .mobi for mobile websites, .biz, .uk, they can be geo-specific, so.
Could they have like, excuse me, could they have like .cookie or something? Or could he have like .dog or?
So they're growing into those, like I saw .photography on GoDaddy, and we can visit that and type in some names just to give you an example of the report. But you know, you type in, and the assumption is .com, and they'll give you a price for that, but then they'll list 30 other options. So I don't know that .cookie is available, but we can look.
I'm just curious.
Yeah, I don't want to say no because I'm always surprised at the options that are available, but I don't think so. So they're constantly changing.
Do you want to have your website and all of it? It's like, you go on there, it's like, do you also want to buy .net? Do you also want to buy do you?
.com is the most popular and the most widely used. You know, I'm working with a national vendor of merchant services, and we took his old site was a .com, and we navigated the new site to a .us. But that was because he didn't want to use the existing domain. He wanted to keep that site live. So if you buy the extra ones, the only consideration is to make sure that you forward them to, you don't have to build 4 websites, you just have to forward the hosting domain to the standing website. There's 500 plus providers of hosting, probably more than that. The familiar ones, GoDaddy, Bluehost, eHost, PowerDNN, those are the ones I've used and had familiarity with. These are the things to consider. Again, for our needs, I assume most of us are going to be on a shared server. Unless there's e-commerce applications, then you want to get a dedicated server with a secure line. It's a slight increase in cost for that. But 24/7 support. I don't get paid for GoDaddy, but I have navigated all my sites there because they, as a non-developer, they answer a lot of development questions that I don't have to bring in an outside resource when I'm managing a project. And a lot of times they'll do it. So that's been very powerful to me in keeping costs at a minimum. putting more project management fees into my pocket, which as an entrepreneur we're all looking for. So the support again, specs and limitations. I mean, you know, is anybody going to be experiencing 50,000 visitors a month, or you know?
I hope
don't-
so.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it. Reach for the sky, right? You know, taking a look at customer reviews for some of these, you'll get the goods and the bads. But email features, control panel, which is how you interact with the tool, is very powerful, and then support. Some of the Weebly, Wix, there's a few others. I don't have a comprehensive list of those either, but they have their own analytics, and from what I've found when I try and install Google Analytics on those, the numbers don't jive. So I haven't looked into their proprietary tool. I've trusted Google and used Google, so WordPress with Google Analytics gives me the best picture of information moving forward, so that's what I use. All right, we talked about the launch. Now we can just soak up our 50 million views and start raking in the money, right? Well, obviously we have to let people know that the site is there. We have to let people know what we do, what makes us unique. Traditional ways of doing that are press release and media outreach, events, you know, grand opening parties, sponsorships.
That's actually funny, because I started planning a grand opening party, and I just went today to see about that Stonebridge banquet place.
Okay.
Hoffman Estates, and they have like some pretty decent prices for like the amount of people that you're deciding to do, just in case you guys are thinking about it, because they do as small as like 75 people and stuff like that. You know what I'm worried about though? It's like, who at all am I inviting? And the press release part of it. That's kind of like, for me, weird. Like, I don't know, like I know my customer base now, and then I was thinking like maybe some of the bridal stores and stuff in the area, like the people who deal with, you know, that and their customer service, but like I don't really know like who to invite. I mean, I guess some of my customers that's been there since we started this, of course, but it's just kind of like a weird place.
So that's one of the things where having too many people there would be a really good problem to have, right? So I would say anybody and everybody.
Yeah.
That's where one of the things missing in any digital marketing strategy is audience, right? So you've got a website. Do you have an RSS feed? Are people subscribing to your updates? How big is your newsletter distribution list or email distribution list? That's one channel, or 3 channels, one medium. Then social media, you know, how many social media are you engaged in? What's your following for each of the social media? Now you're adding to that number. Your audience is increasing. And you're still, even if you post it half dozen times over the course of 2 weeks, a small fraction of your audience is going to see that. So now you've got to talk about the 6 or 7 times that it takes to get a message through to someone. How am I going to get that 7 times? Well, you know, a blog post on your website, maybe a banner image or a video promoting it. Now, on social media, you're sharing it across 3 to 5 channels. Maybe you're promoting it with a Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram ad. Now you're starting to get up to, maybe some people have seen it 3 or 4 times. Now you go into the traditional, post it on Patch, Daily Herald, or whatever your local media source is, send it to the Sun-Times, maybe they'll have
That's
it
what I
in
was
their portion.
thinking. I'm like, do people still do that? Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's, you know, it's more generator controlled, meaning, you know, I can push more and more data out there and know that it's going to get published. The difference is the end user is now a pull. Like, if I don't want it, I'm not going to pull it into my feed.
Okay.
So if I don't like your page, if I don't know you personally,
Right.
am I going to be interested in your party? So maybe some people, yeah, I mean, take drinks and sweets, right?
Right.
I'm on board. So, you know, there's ways, and that's where the creativity behind the message creation really does come into play. And that's another commodity that increases the cost, is what level of creative are you going to incorporate throughout your brand. So, but, you know, I've navigated, I started in traditional media, I guess I didn't cover that. So I was doing graphic design, print, exhibit display, event management. I see the power of digital and to drive traffic to websites. your website, again, hub and spoke, right? So you want to communicate everything you're doing on the website, and you want to share that across social media. So you go from maybe 100 visitors a month to now 600 visitors a month. And what does that do to your call metrics, right? So if it's 300 visits for a phone call or a contact form submission, now you just got 2 calls that month. Now how do we double your website traffic, right? You always want to think strategically, and how do we get more visitors to the website, and what's the end goal of a website visitor? So, the ongoing SEO and content management, again, measured with analytics. Social is increasing metrics for success and valuing the amount that you spend on it. Social media advertising is very targeted and allows you to serve your content exclusively to people who might be interested in buying it. And that's.
I got another question. When you start to get into the social media, and how much time should one be spending on like updating that?
So I've seen books that social media for entrepreneurs, and 20 minutes in the morning and 20 minutes at the end of the day. It's all different. And every business has a different personality, right? So I like in social media. Any of you go to networking events where you're in a room full of 30 people that you don't know, and you're exchanging business cards? And it's like high school, right? It's like, well, maybe even junior high. It's like your worst nightmare. You're going, I don't know anybody. Not so I'm going to stand in the corner, and I do website development and marketing, and it's great. Is anybody going to come and talk to me? Probably not, right? So you got to go out, and you got to shake hands, and you got to give business cards. Think of social as the same way. So you can set your notifications where anytime you get a message, they get sent to your smartphone. So bang. Oh, hey, somebody visited my page. Hey, thanks. You got to engage. It's got to be a dialogue. It's got to be 2 ways. That's the power of social media. Is it creates, unending opportunity for dialogue. So, can you quantify that amount of time that would take across 5 channels?
Like now, do I need another person?
They have applications where you can post to the application will actually do the post to all of your social media at once.
Wow.
So you don't have to go in and out, in and out, in and out. You can just go to one spot, do your post for like the 20 minutes or whatever you have scheduled for that day, and it'll do it on Pinterest, Facebook, whatever ones you want. So
Sure, the tool's called Hootsuite. I don't know if
Yeah,
you're familiar
yeah.
with that, but I use Hootsuite when I'm scheduling client posts, and it allows me, I can block off 2 hours and share relevant content to that audience, but then I check in 3 times a day, 20, 30-minute increments. So that takes care of the legwork. There still needs to be the humanity portion of it. So, because you can broadcast nonstop, but if people are posting and not getting a response, they're not.
That's what I'm worried about, like people who want to ask questions or, anything like that. Like, of course, I go around and I was helping before I left my job with the Claire's mobile app and stuff like that, and how to be interactive with that. And that's the part that bothers me. Like, I want to make sure that as much as possible, if there is anybody needing assistance or have questions or something like that, that it's information that's coming back, right? That they're getting, because I don't like it when I shop on websites or something and you have a question or something, it takes them like 2 days to get back to you or something like that, and you're like, this is the simplest
I'll tell you
thing.
what, the social media customer service reps get back to you a lot faster than online chat and anything else does. So it's a competitive environment too, right? If you talk about customer service, if you want to be there, you have to be there with dedicated resources. So depending upon what that looks like.
I got a couple nieces and stuff that are in college and doing nothing with their free time, but on social media all day, so maybe I could pay them to
instruct them, make sure they're customer service savvy, and instruct them on how you want to present it. Because there's you talk about a corporate, I'm sure Claire's has a corporate engagement document for their engagement, and how do you want things presented, and friendly, is it jovial, what types of content do you want, so,
Our websites, what if the goal of your website wasn't necessarily to like generate a lot of traffic? It was more or less to establish your presence, or, so do you have to be connected to all of those social media outlets, or can you just?
You don't.
Or is it, or
and you don't if you're not going to be active on it.
Right.
Right.
So if you know you're not, like, because I can't stand social media, so like I know I wouldn't do that, but would my website look archaic or something if I wasn't connected to, Twitter and Facebook and everything?
So there's ways around it, right?
Oh, okay.
the way it would look archaic is if it's not mobile responsive, which we're covering by using WordPress. And mobile responsive just means that a full website would present on your PC, but then it shrinks down and it just has a menu tab, and your images present on a mobile responsive format. So there's two ways that businesses can approach that. One is mobile responsive, and one is just mobile development. So you can build a separate mobile site where you have to recreate the entire site with a .mobile page so that it presents on mobile. Or a mobile responsive site just automatically knows inherently in the design to present for a PC, present for a tablet, or present for a smartphone. So we're eliminating the need to worry about that by using WordPress. The most current iteration does have a mobile responsive template, and we'll select that and I can show you what that looks like. But the purpose of your website may just be legitimizing presence, like we talked about, like a 4-page brochure, so that you hand somebody your business card, they go to the site, they know you're legit, and they give you a call. That's completely okay. And if that's the time that you have to dedicate to it, that's the time you have to dedicate, right? All the other stuff is icing on the cake. If you're sharing your social profiles, if you're posting blog content, etc. For the first 3 to 4 years of my business, it was a standalone static website. I was the face of. I just wanted to steer people back to it. So I'm legit. Give me a call, right? So that's completely acceptable. The rest of the stuff, you start to get into industry best practice, and are you capturing an email for somebody to visit your site? What are you providing them? There's pop-up menus to capture subscriptions. I mean, it's crazy, because think about what I was given the example from a keyword standpoint. Kohl's changed jeans to denim slacks or something of that nature, and it was 3% upswing in their average sales could be millions of dollars, right, based on keywords that they use. So how you present things